So now I'll move on to why am I focusing on BC timber sales? In this presentation, I only have time to touch on just skim the surface, really, ultimately. There's just so much to it, so many reasons. But I want to state really clearly that my opinions on BC timber sales, they started taking shape initially after having conversations with 3 logger friends of mine and 1 log truck driver and 1 small mill owner. So it's these guys that were telling me that what BC Timber Sales is doing is some of the least unsustainable, like the most unsustainable forestry out there. And it was those conversations with industry themselves that set me off down this path. And it was only later on that those allegations were confirmed by biologists and ecologists. So that's why. That's in a nutshell why BCTS. On my website is a 7-page detailed analysis of 20 different reasons, and I actually need to add 2 more to it. And it's a PDF on my website, and I urge you to read it. There's so much detail in there that kind of backs all this up, and so I'm not going to get into all these points, but I will talk about five or six of them that I consider really key to this particular discussion that we're having today. First of all, BC timber sales, they are the single biggest culprit around for logging where citizens who live in the area don't want them to log. So we're talking front country and watersheds. And nobody, Canfor's the biggest TFL holder aside, and they're small potatoes in comparison to BC timber sales. Also, BC timber sales is projecting nearly doubling their harvest volume over the next couple of years. And I can't read some of this. Oh yeah, that's good. So here, I'm moving right along to a couple more really important ones. BC timber sales is not adapted to climate change. They're still clear cutting like it's 1985, even though we all know it's hotter, drier. These forests that I've been checking out, they're not going to come back. That cedar, that hemlock, it's not going to come back. BC timber sales logging practices, they dramatically increase the likelihood of catastrophic, fast-moving wildfire. That's what all the science points to. And what are the billions and billions of dollars of financial costs and all the social costs that go with this? And then the final one is they justify their sustainability using SFI, and SFI is an international standard that was devised in the 90s by a bunch of industry hacks. And it's still run by a bunch of industry hacks, and the CEO of Canfor is on the board of SFI, like it's a joke. So I could go on and on about the nitty-gritty details of BCTS, but I'll spare you for now. So to give you an idea of what like the territory that they cover of our province, they cover about 17% of our unprotected land base, but they're responsible for about 20% of the cutting that goes on in BC. So all that yellow on that map, those are BC timber sales landscape units. There's probably something like 750 of them. So this is the whole province. BC Timber Sales divides the whole province up into 12 operating areas. It used to be 13, but Haida Gwaii is no longer a part of it. This puts in perspective how much logging BCTS is, how much clear cutting they're going to do in the Kootenays alone this year. Just imagine how much that is. It's about 9,000 logging trucks. It's really, and also keep in mind that this is about a fifth, really roughly, but about a fifth of the logging that happens in the Kootenays. So another point that's good to make here, I think, is that BC Timber Sales, they only clear cut. They don't, they've shunned, to me, in my face, shunned any type of harvesting beyond clear cutting as unfeasible. So they may leave retention areas, and the more we hassle them about a certain block, but it's still clear cutting. Sorry. Let's see if that works a bit better. So now we're going to zero in on the Kootenays itself. In total, there's 157 huge clear cuts. I don't know what the average size is, probably 60, 70 acres. in the Kootenays alone. That's in these areas. Nelson's circled in green. And so we've had a chance to check out about maybe 6 of the areas, maybe 25 cut blocks, something like that. But who knows what's happening in the other 140 areas that we didn't get a chance to look at. This is Sproul Creek, Rixon. This is actually in their last year's harvesting schedule, but this shows Sproul Creek, Rixon in 1984. Sorry, what's happening here? In 1984, and there's only 4 clear cuts that are visible. Tons of primary forest left, totally intact watersheds. Jump forward to 2022, and it's much worse than this now, and it's going to get worse. Trees don't grow back in 40 years. They just don't. Sproul around here, Sproul and Rixon creek flows are now much more prone to drought, flood, sediment, and ecological values have been seriously compromised. So, and BCTS, they wouldn't answer me on questions put forth to them that include our MLA on their justification for the unsustainable forestry that they used the excuse of pine beetle previous and now fir beetle, and they just clammed up, and then they started attacking me instead. Next, so these are just some photos from Sproul Rixon. There's 2 blocks in particular. We've walked 5 out of 6 with my friend Derek right here. A lot of them. We found some majestic forests, especially in the SMA 095. In SMA 034, the first 2. And then in the next 2 pictures are SMA 095, and it's super lush, wet, crossing 7 seasonal creeks and 3 significant river creeks, year-round ones. So it's just crazy to log that. It will be old growth forest in a generation or 2, so why not leave it? 40 hectare clear cut.